As a woman, it's hard not to take it personally when your husband shuts down or stonewalls. But here's the thing, not all stonewalling means the same thing. And if you react to it without first understanding it, you actually run the risk of making things worse. In today's video, I'll help you figure out the type of shutdown you're dealing with in your relationship and the exact steps you need to take to stop it before it pushes you further apart. In my couples therapy practice, this is what I hear from women all the time. He shuts down, he won't talk to me after an argument, he pretends like nothing's wrong, while I feel like I'm having a mental breakdown and I'm just falling apart from the inside. He ignores me or withholds affection from me for days on, just because we had a disagreement. The first thing you need to do is ask yourself, when my husband withdraws and doesn't talk to me, what is the intention behind this action? Why is he actually doing this? This is so important to figure out because some men use their silent treatment and shutdown to punish or control their partner. So this is more actually about having power and control over you. It's no longer about just a simple disconnection and disagreement. And it kind of makes you feel like you're walking on eggshells and you can't bring up certain issues around him just because if you do, he's gonna shut down, withdraw, and withhold affection or conversation from you. So I'm just going to give you a few examples from my couples therapy practice so you can see how this fits with your experience right now. So I work with a woman whose husband would storm off after an argument. He would actually disappear for days, and to be exact, for 3 days. That was his pattern. By the time he would initiate contact or a conversation, she'd be so emotionally deprived and just craving a little bit of connection that she would just give in and would do anything in her power to have a conversation and make things right. And even though this caused some temporary peace in their relationship, every concern, every issue just remained unresolved. Now, here's what's happening. He's using this kind of emotional withdrawal to get his way, to not talk about the things he dislikes, to avoid accountability, but still get the closeness and connection on his terms. So basically, he's kind of manipulating the situation. It's not so much that his nervous system is dysregulated, he's flooded and overwhelmed, and he just needs some time to get back to the baseline. This is more about entitlement, wanting to get his way, and not caring about what happens to his wife when he's away and disconnected. I'll give you another example. Another woman I talked with, she was looking to get married soon, while her boyfriend seemed like was not ready to have that kind of conversation. Every time they would talk about this, the boyfriend would get angry, frustrated, and shut down, and they wouldn't talk for a couple of days until she would initiate something or he would use some sort of a humor to get back on track again. So imagine they were together for 3 years, but this was an ongoing process, so still she was unclear in terms of where she stands in the relationship. And eventually she would stop mentioning her need and wish to be married, and all of this conversation was stalled because he didn't want to talk about it. Every time there was a conversation, he would get mad and leave, or not talk to her for days, or just be cold towards her. And this is how some men use the silent treatment to quietly shift the power in their favor. This just teaches you over time to stay small, to keep the peace. So tell me, when your husband shuts down, do you try to fix it or do you tend to pull back? Tell me in the comments below. I want to hear from you. And I'm going to be real with you. Over time, this dynamic really wears down your relationship and undermines how safe you feel with your husband. The more you give in, the more he's going to take a step forward, and stonewalling becomes his norm. You're going to start being doubtful, anxious, wondering what you've done. If you're currently dealing with stonewalling or shutdown in your relationship, and you want to understand how this dynamic is actually affecting your relationship and what to do about it, I created a relationship test that helps you understand and get clarity on where your relationship truly stands right now, how much emotional damage this stonewalling dynamic has caused in your relationship, and the exact steps you need to take to restore emotional safety and closeness again. This test is completely free. The couples I give this to in my couples therapy practice Swear by this test and tell me this is very eye-opening for them. You can download this test right in the description below this video, or go to my website, parisacounselling.com/relationship test to take it right now. But let's not be pessimistic. Not every man who shuts down is trying to control you and get his way. Some genuinely feel flooded and overwhelmed when a disagreement happens. This means the reason your partner shuts down is because their nervous system is in hyperarousal and they just need some time to themselves to protect themselves and to calm down. Maybe an argument you've had has made them feel anxious about having another argument, so just to avoid another argument, they go quiet and silent, just as a way to protect themselves and the relationship. Or maybe something you've said activates some past trauma in them and they feel flooded and stressed. And again, their nervous system goes into a shutdown mode. So in this case, their intention is not to punish you or teach you a lesson, but it's more so just to regulate their nervous system and protect themselves and the relationship. So here, I'll give you an example. I had a couple where when the wife would express frustration, it would come out as a criticism. This would make her husband feel very criticized and attacked. So as a way to protect himself, he would retreat and withdraw emotionally. He would go quiet, maybe not talk to her, or just avoid her. Because inside, his nervous system was flooded and he was thinking that he's failing as a partner, kind of thinking to himself, I'm a failure, just like I was a failure to my parents. I'm failing as a partner. Now I'm failing to make her happy with me. Now, for him, withdrawing wasn't a power move. His nervous system was in overdrive and he just needed to calm down. And also what's different is what happens after the withdrawal. After 1 or 2 days, when he felt more regulated, he would come back to initiate a conversation. Or if she tried to talk about it, he'd kind of be open to it because that kind of made him warm up and feel safer to open up to her about how he's feeling inside. And maybe he would say something to the effect of, sorry, I wasn't talking to you for 2 days. I was just feeling so overwhelmed. But I also acknowledge that this must have been hard for you. I didn't mean any harm. This was what was going on with me back then. I didn't mean to make you feel alone or abandoned. So this means his intention was truly about regulating his emotions. And at the end of the day, he took responsibility for his part, with empathy acknowledged that what she may have been through and considered how his action is affecting her. So tell me already, do you notice a pattern in your relationship? What type of shutdown you're dealing with? Let me know in the comments by saying control dynamic or self-regulation. Now, to exactly know what type of shutdown you're dealing with, there's another thing that you can look at. And that is by asking yourself and checking in with yourself to see how you feel when you're receiving that silence and shutdown. Do you feel punished, powerless, helpless, or desperate to reconnect? In this case, you might be dealing with control. If you don't have any of these feelings and you think he's just going through a hard time, he's overwhelmed, and there's that confidence that he will eventually reach out to you, then that's self-regulation. So what I like to do, if the intention is about having power and control, I call that stonewalling or silent treatment, because there's a negative connotation with these two terms. But if it's a regular shutdown, it's just a regular shutdown. So I want you to treat these two differently. Now, I'm really curious to know. Let me know in the comments how you actually feel when your husband shuts down. Do you feel confused, small, worthless, sad, hurt? Just drop one word in the comment. It makes other women know that they're not the only ones going through this. The other thing you need to pay attention to really discern, are you dealing with stonewalling or a regular shutdown, is how long this actually goes on for. With stonewalling, I have clients come to me and say, my husband hasn't been talking to me for the past 2 months, right? Or for the past 3 months. Whereas with someone dealing with regular self-regulation, maybe at most for a week, we haven't been talking to each other. Still, it's not complete silence. We still do our practical stuff, but there is this general sense of disconnection and coldness from both of us. So if it's a longer duration of time, most probably you're dealing with a stonewaller. Now, here's my gold tip to you. Here's what I want every woman to know. Your response to him can either reinforce this negative pattern or start shifting it. When you notice it's about control, you have to stop chasing him. Don't text 10 times. Don't beg for connection. Don't take him back right away when he reaches with connection and a conversation and some warmth. Make him be accountable. Give him the space to finally apologize to you. Because if you give in to this dynamic, every time you're going to make it more powerful. He's going to think, look what I did. She brought up something. I didn't want to talk about it. I yelled at her or stormed off. I haven't talked to her for 3 days. This is really working for me. And I come back after 3 days. We don't have to talk about it. We avoid the conversation. I avoid being the bad guy. And we can just pretend like everything is as usual. And if anything, it works better because now she's even more appreciative of me because she hasn't felt this kind of connection. So you see how that gives more power to someone who has this kind of mentality? If you don't make silent treatments and stonewalling costly for him, he's never going to stop doing it. You need to hold your ground, let him have his space, and don't shrink your world around his withdrawal. Reconnect with your friends, your passions, your sense of self and identity, the things that nourish you and recharge you and give you a sense of meaning. That's how you take your power back. And honestly, you have to start early. The first time he does it, you have to stand your ground. You can't just let him get away with it. But the other scenario, if it's about him being emotionally flooded, respond with gentleness and calm reassurance. You can say, I can see you're overwhelmed right now. Even though when you're silent, your silence doesn't feel good for me. It hurts me. It makes me feel alone. Tell me, how much time you need to be regulated because it's important for me to ultimately have a conversation with you. And then he can say, I need a couple of hours. This is what I need from you. So this way it's very cordial and it's also respectful of how you're feeling inside. So you're pointing out that, you're shutting down. This is how it feels for me. It hurts me, right? So you're owning your feelings and validating your own needs and feelings. But I'm also respecting your space. Tell me how long you need to, self-regulate. But ultimately we need to have a conversation because this is important. And this way you make him feel safe, right? Because if it's truly space that he needs for self-regulation, you're giving that to him. So he can feel reassured and close. And then ultimately you can have a conversation to resolve things. Knowing why he shuts down is a start, but it won't actually stop it from happening. What you need is a solid, exact strategy to handle it when it happens in the moment. What to do, what to say, and how to turn things around fast. And that's exactly what I'll walk you through in the video on your screen now.